I think everyone watching would agree that Jacques Kallis and Steve Waugh were two of the finest cricketers of the modern era.
On the field, he was a figure of absolute grit and determination.
Henry Kallis will be remembered as one of the best all-rounders to ever play the game.
But did you know that both cricketers really battled to find their feet in international cricket, and only through an extended run did they have the opportunity to turn into greats? Not everyone is this lucky and gets such a long leash to prove themselves. In fact, some cricketers take to international cricket like a duck to water and are still not given the opportunities, for whatever reason, to flourish on the international stage. Today, we're going to be taking a look at 5 such men who, despite having it all and being the full package, were unlucky to never receive a chance to shine as brightly as they could have in international cricket. The first man we're going to be looking at is this lad, Scott Boland, who'd be a shoo-in to any test lineup around the world, bar only the team he plays for.
And again, Boland's got 6 at the G! Build the man a statue!
62 wickets at 16 apiece in only 14 tests. The man physically can't do any more to get into the team. All he can do is sit and wait for his number to be occasionally called for the odd game or step in as an injury sub when a teammate goes down. As if a debut in the Ashes couldn't get better, Boland went 3 better. He debuted on Boxing Day, on his home ground, and casually took the fastest 5 for on debut of all time, finishing his first test innings with 6 wickets for 7 runs in just 4 overs. A testament to the quality of the man is that Australia have occasionally dropped players from a top 3 bowling attack in the modern era to make room for him. The first test of the last Ashes in England, where he displaced Mitchell Starc in the starting 11, or where he displaced Nathan Lyon in the third test of their most recent tour of the West Indies, are a couple such instances. At 36, Boland is coming to the final stages of an impressive career.
Unbelievable! Scotty Boland is living out his dreams at the MCG.
And is unlikely to add many more tests to his resume as he continues to carry the drinks. He probably goes on to play another 10 to 20 tests, claiming a further 50 to 80 odd wickets, and finishing up his career with somewhere between 100 and 150 test wickets at an average of 20.
Kohli, and he's tickled it! The magic man knocks over Virat Kohli. Massive wicket for the Aussies.
He will undoubtedly go down as one of the biggest what-ifs in cricket, and who knows what his career may have looked like had he been born in another era. I believe he has to go down as one of the unluckiest cricketers of all time. Sometimes, great players slip through the cracks, especially when they're competing against other greats, as has happened with many Australians over the years. So I now present to you the batting equivalent of Scotty Boland, a certain Adam Voges. Like Boland, Adam Voges debuted for Australia at a very old age. In Voges' case, he got his first shot on the other side of 35. When you think of an Australian top-order batter averaging over 60, you think of Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, or Mr. Cricket Mike Hussey, but probably not Adam Voges. In a 20-match test career spanning 2 years from 2015 to 2016, Adam Voges scored over 1,400 test runs at an average of 62. Sure, it's a small sample size, but because he debuted so late with no prior opportunities, you can't put any of that on Voges. Where Voges differed from Boland though, was the fact that he'd managed to lock down a spot in the first choice Aussie Test 11. When Voges debuted, he was in the midst of a purple patch, a final renaissance, a feat quite common for great batters nearing the end, when their years of experience and the last of their talent and ability line up to culminate in an ultimate run. And so on debut, in his very first innings and in the midst of this purple patch, Voges punished the West Indies.
And that's it. Adam Voges has scored a test century on debut.
And announced himself to the cricketing world with a match-winning 130 not out, and he'd go on to notch up a further 4 centuries in his remaining 19 tests. But signs of his age catching up with him were there for all to see if you look at his career year by year. So when Voges turned 37, the tolls of 15 years of first-class cricket had begun to pile up. After a lean run in his final couple of test series and a relatively poor 2016-2017 Shield campaign, Voges decided he'd had enough. His body wasn't up to international cricket anymore, and so he retired, leaving many to question what kind of career he might have put together if he'd had the opportunity to debut a few years earlier. Shane Warne is unquestionably the greatest leg spinner of all time.
Well bowled, Shane Warne. What a wicket that is.
Hey, that one spun a long way.
Hands down, no doubt. But the only other man who could sometimes outperform the king of spin happened to be his understudy and teammate, Stuart McIll. By and large, leg spinners are a rare breed, and to find one with the ability to cut it at test level is nearly impossible. So when Australia found two in the 90s and 2000s who genuinely deceived batters and tore through opposing lineups, it was beyond improbable. It was truly a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence.
Enormous distance.
Magnificent piece of bowling from Warne.
McGill didn't have the brain of Warne, nor the presence or fear factor at the crease. But he did turn the ball viciously sideways, more than Warne even, and he had an excellent googly. He bowled more slowly than Shane Warne and was less accurate. However, when his name was called, be it through an opportunity in spinning conditions or on the back of Warne being injured or receiving a ban, he rarely failed to capitalize.
Bowled him round his legs. Bowled him round his legs.
In the 44 games he played from 1998 to 2008, McGill picked up 208 test wickets at an average of 29. However, during the first half of his career, in his prime years, McGill truly stamped his authority on the game, claiming 146 scalps at 27 apiece with 9 fifers. Truly remarkable numbers for someone who was hardly given a consistent run and expected to rock up and perform after carrying the drinks and sitting on the sidelines.
Oh yes, that's very well taken. Up goes the finger.
After years of being the backup, McGill was thrust into the starting role when Warne was banned for the 03-04 season after testing positive for a controlled substance. McGill didn't disappoint and picked up 57 wickets that year at 29s, but he would be relegated back to the bench after Warne returned. He would go on to have another fantastic 2 years in 2005 and 2006, claiming a further 46 wickets in 11 matches. After returning from wrist surgery in 2007, McGill was never the same bowler, and when he was unable to make an impact during their first test against the West Indies in 2008, McGill knew he could no longer cut it at the test level and abruptly retired in the middle of that match, stating it would be his last. As a fan of leg spin, I often question if McGill had played in an era without Shane Warne, if he would have gone down as a great of the game. I believe he might have. But sadly, his best years were spent backing up Shane Warne, so we'll never know.
Gone, gone, gone! And McGill has bowled it beautifully.
Sticking with the leggies, but shifting to Team India, we find one of cricket's finest white ball bowlers who's recently been snubbed in India's 5-match test series in the UK, Kuldeep Yadav. The 30-year-old has bagged 250 wickets in ODIs and T20s with an average of 26 and 14 respectively, almost fictionally good numbers. Kuldeep's a proven, reliable and accurate product with an unparalleled ability to turn games around. He's truly a trump card. But India continue to ignore him in the game's longest format.
That is magnificent bowling from the young man.
Despite undeniable results in his 13 test matches so far, where he's bagged 56 wickets at 22 apiece. Imagine English fans watching Shoaib Bashir make their starting test 11, who's a right-arm off-spinner that doesn't bat, while a player who is gargantuanly better carries the drinks for India. It's a waste of Kuldeep's match-winning ability. India's own fear surrounding their batting fragility has deprived Kuldeep of more opportunities as they opt to play off-spinners who can bat. Washington Sundar, Ravi Jadeja, Akshar Patel, all of these men aren't half the bowler Kuldeep is, but their perceived ability to be world-class batsmen is deemed brilliant enough that it's worth leaving Kuldeep Yadav out. If they trust them as batting all-rounders so much, then drop other batters, not bowlers, and definitely not your biggest threat in all conditions except for Bumrah. Particularly outside Asia, Kuldeep should be the first choice spinner without a second thought, because his strike rate is so vastly superior and it shows he's actually a wicket-taking threat instead of being there just to play a holding role. Unlike Boland or McGill, Kuldeep hasn't been held back by any person. He's been held back by a conservative selection policy. Who knows how many wickets he could have taken in Test cricket had he been given the opportunities he's earned.
Gone! The brilliance of Kuldeep.
The final contender on our list is potentially a lesser-known figure, but there's a case to be made that no batter has been as unlucky to have never gotten a shot at Test match cricket as him. Sarfaraz Khan is an Indian batter who averages 66 in first-class cricket right now. Now, this isn't just over 1 or 2 seasons or a handful of games.
And now 50 on Test match debut for Sarfaraz Khan.
No, he bolsters this record after 55 first-class games while striking at 70 no less. In only 11 innings at the Test match level, Sarfaraz has already scored 100 to go along with 350s, and for any young batter making their way in the format, that's a perfectly decent start. There are concerns surrounding his weight and fitness, which were often the reason he would be overlooked to play for India, and so players like Dhruv Jurel, Sai Sudarshan and KL Rahul were preferred to him. After a poor final 2 Test matches against New Zealand at home, Sarfaraz was dropped for India's recent tour of England, a sign the selectors may have been moving on from him. For a player dominating domestic cricket with such conviction, it is sad to see him not get an extended opportunity to lock down a spot in the batting lineup.
Punched off the back foot for Sarfaraz. Look at the elation.
After strong performances from the rest of India's batters, and with others waiting ahead of Sarfaraz in the wings, it's hard to see him making a comeback to the Test side, despite his phenomenal domestic results. So it's more than likely that we may never get to see what Sarfaraz could have turned into at the Test level had he been given a longer run.
There goes 150. He's got 16 first-class hundreds.
I hope you enjoyed this change in style of video, and if you think we left anyone off of our list of the unluckiest cricketers in this video, let me know in the comments.